Welcome back, Patriots, for a Monday episode of the Bald Brad Show. It is officially September 9th, a day before the big day. The debate is tomorrow, and you bet your tushy we will be live for it. I appreciate all of you having that patience and understanding. As many of you know, I was extremely sick for the last week. We did a test stream on Saturday just to kind of see if we can get the bells and whistles figured out. But we are back, baby, and I see you all in the live chat. Jeff, Lulu, YouTube 5000, Take America Back. We got Pat. We got everybody here along with us. I am still slightly sick. I would say I'm about 90-95% there now. Slight cough, a little bit of a runny nose. But if you want to figure out what was going on with me, I did talk about it on our Saturday live stream right there at the beginning. So you can go check that out if you'd like. Or if you want me to rehash it right now, we can. But we got a lot of news to cover. So I want to jump right into things. The first one is, well, where's Joe been? A lot of you were asking that on Saturday. Where's Joe? Why is Joe not doing anything? Because Joe Biden is using taxpayer dollars to kind of ride off in the sunset and use that money for vacation. So Biden's astonishing vacation totaled has finally been revealed. The president has taken 48 years, not off his life, but 48 years worth of leave in just 4. So while you're sitting there struggling, to pay the bills, get everything done. Hey, what's going on, Peggy? Good to see you. Biden's out there just kicking his little feet in the sand, having a grand old time. So the 81-year-old Dollard, commander-in-chief, has racked up 532 vacation days in just less than 4 years. About 40%. The dude's taking 40% vacation time. Like, it's as if he's, I need 40. I have to take 40. If I don't do 40, am I really doing my job? Well, no, Joe, you haven't been doing your job, and that's why the country is a bunch of kapopo. And remember, him and Kamala meet every day. Allegedly, they're meeting in the sands of Delaware, I guess. But this is the guy the Democrats voted for. No apology still. Has everybody noticed that? None of us have gotten a single apology for the vote that 83 million people allegedly did to put this guy in office and drive us into the ground. It's an astonishing thing. And that's why I always say there's no reflection. There's no looking back to see, hey, what were my actions like 4 years ago when I walked into that voter booth and bubbled in Joe Biden? Because they're going to do it again, but this time it's going to be for Kamala Harris. Somebody that they hated back then, somebody that couldn't even make it to the Iowa caucus, somebody that had terrible policies. She was the worst candidate in 2020. She still is one of the worst candidates now in 2024. Oh, sorry. There was no other candidates here in 2024. They just sat there and, performed a coup and put her into office. So there's Joe for y'all running the country, or their lack of. Still no answers as to why she covered up Joe Biden's cognitive decline. Do you think ABC News, meaning the Walt Disney Company, is going to ask her that tomorrow during the debate? I don't think so. I kind of look a little scrawny. Let's move this up just slightly. There we go. Makes me look bigger. So we'll see what comes of it. Again, we will be here. Good morning, folks. I see y'all here. We will be live tomorrow, not just for our normal programming, but also for the debate. I've already made the thumbnail for it. I kind of stayed up a little bit yesterday. I was kind of on a grind because I've been gone for a week. I missed y'all. We had to get stuff done, unlike the president. Now, one of the people that did the last debate or interviews, both, is her name Dana Bash, and she's here on tape going, you don't think Dick Cheney's endorsement's going to make a difference? No. Dick Cheney's been irrelevant. Matter of fact, the media, the entire legacy media apparatus hated this guy for decades. All of a sudden, because he comes out voting for Kamala Harris and his daughter, he's just a good guy all of a sudden. Everybody loves Dick Cheney, I guess, down the Democrat side of the aisle. Go figure. It's like how they treated George W. like dog bleep for decades, and then they started inviting him on the late shows, and now he's just the Democrats' best friend. Nobody cares about Dick Cheney. I thought the guy, I don't mean to be rude, I thought the guy was dead. And I really do mean that. Again, I'm not trying to be rude. I literally thought the guy was gone. I didn't know he was still alive.
Cheney was vice president of the United States for 8 years. He was a senior member of the House. He was chief of staff to Gerald Ford. He worked tirelessly to advance Republican policies for a long time. You don't think his endorsement of a Democrat with that kind of pedigree is going to make a difference with swing
Dana,
voters?
I really don't.
Or never Trump voters who weren't sure about Harris?
Well, I mean, some of this is probably that Donald Trump beat his daughter in her last election by 39 points. I think most Americans are going to look at this race and compare the records they have. Again, it's a very unusual race. When you have a president who served in office, who brought good times to America, and you have Kamala Harris, a San Francisco liberal, who has brought to America exactly what you see in San Francisco as well.
Dick Cheney was.
And look, he's spot on there. I love how he turns that back of like, basically, who cares what Dick Cheney or who Dick Cheney or what the hell he's doing? As it was mentioned in the chat, the only thing Dick Cheney's known for is shooting his lawyer in the face and then blaming it on the lawyer. We all remember that one when they're out hunting, right? And Dick Cheney tries to blow his lawyer's face off. But all of a sudden, he's Democrats' best friend. And I love the fact, is it Tom Cotton there? I believe we saw pointing it back towards the fact that she destroyed San Francisco, meaning Kamala Harris, and now Democrats want more of that destruction in the White House. We also have Luna La Palma. We got the representative of Florida. My nose is stuffed. Forgive me. Just spitting facts here with Jason Chaffetz, the former congressman of Utah, who is one of my... Look, I know I'm going on a slight deviation here. This man and Trey Gowdy. So Jason Chaffetz here on the news, as well as Trey Gowdy, were actually my two favorite congressmen. He was from Utah. Trey Gowdy was from South Carolina, I believe, or North Carolina. I think it was South Carolina. And two greatly missed men in Congress, two guys I actually trusted, which says a lot because I don't trust politicians. Miss these guys tremendously. Well, here's Luna Polina.
President Trump needs to stay focused on his policy and what he's done for this country, and it's a win-win all the way around. I think right now Kamala Harris, a lot of Democrats were pushing her. They frankly didn't even get a chance to really vote her as the nominee, right? We saw what happened with the kind of switcheroo with Joe Biden. But
remember, they're called the Democrat Party, but don't perform any sort of democracy in the Democrat Party.
Ultimately, as long as he stays focused on policies, which he will, I know the people doing the debate prep with him, I think he's going to shine like the star that he is. Kamala Harris keeps trying to run away from the border issue, and so she'll try to pivot on other issues like abortion. I think he stays focused on inflation, immigration, border security. He's going to win all the way through, to include this November.
Ooh, I hadn't listened to that full clip. I got goosebumps. I'm not kidding. I actually got goosebumps. Hearing her, that feels so good. Look. I know what I said 2 weeks ago, that Donald Trump might get his ass kicked, okay? And I said I will say it on air if I'm wrong, and I want to be wrong. Trust me, I'm voting for Trump. I can only be so clear. I need to take you guys in the voter booth with me.
Biden, but ultimately, as long as he stays focused on policies, which he will, I know the people doing the debate prep with him.
I know the people doing the debate prep with him. That's what I wanted to hear right there. That's what I said, right? He needs to sit there, not attack her. Don't go after her cackle. Don't mention anything about her being black or Indian. Don't do any of that. Just stay on point, brother. Stay on point, and you got this. That's all you need to do. Just keep taking it back to all the terrible policies, all the terrible things she did to California, all the terrible things she did to the border, all the terrible things she did to the economy, all the terrible things she did to your retirement, everything. You don't even need to touch anything about her being a woman or her being Indian, black, Jamaican, whatever the hell she wants to say. We also got Sarah Huckabee Sanders in the mix. A lot of people coming out the day before the election. Wow, the debate for the election, just kind of defending Trump here and kind of going on point, speaking facts to the media, such as ABC here.
So wrong on the issues that Americans care about. And she has a terrible track record to talk about. Donald Trump has a good story to tell. He shows up at this debate from a position of strength. She shows up from a position of weakness. The administration that she is totally responsible and accountable for has been an abysmal failure. The economy is bad. Inflation has skyrocketed. You go to any grocery store or gas station as a family, as an American, you're feeling the failures of this administration. She doesn't get to run away from that. You look at the crisis at the border. They have opened it wide up, allowing millions of people to come in. They don't know who they are, where they're going, or what they're coming for. We actually had taken steps and made significant progress on securing the border under President Trump. We actually had a safer world. We didn't have conflicts left and right all over the place. She has to be held responsible for these things. She doesn't get to run away from them. And I think that's what makes this debate so difficult for her this week.
Difficult for her. But remember, folks, this is Sarah Huckabee Sanders on ABC. ABC, Walt Disney Company, is the one that's going to be hosting the debate tomorrow. They're going, look, everybody's like, oh, Dana Bash, you know, Joe, like whoever it was Dana Bash, and who was the other knucklehead that was doing the debate with her? Well, everyone was like, oh, well, they did pretty good, you know, they did okay. No, they didn't. They sat there and talked about January 6th, Donald Trump's troubles with the legal system, you know, the prosecutions, you know, bringing all that stuff back. That's what they're going to do. You think they're going to go hard in the paint on her on illegal immigration and all the terrible things? They'll touch on it, right? Because they have to present themselves as if they're unbiased. But don't get me wrong. Oh, they're going to go after Trump left and right here, and they're going to pose their questions in very specific ways to sit there and bring to light again, refresh the viewer's mind of certain things like narratives that they pushed many years ago. They won't bring up the fact that they were wrong about the Hunter Biden laptop. They won't bring up the fact that they were wrong about the Russia hoax. They won't bring up the fact that they were lying and only showed 6 minutes of 40,000 hours of footage there from January 6th. They won't share all those things. No. They're going to share just the narrative that they want the viewer to see and hear, and that's going to all favor Kamala Harris at the end of the day. So Trump still has an uphill battle no matter what. You also have Ben Carson here, and I'm just going to read his quote because the video clip, look, I love Ben Carson, but the guy puts me to sleep, okay? You know, no. Get a cup of coffee, wake up a little bit here, because here's Ben Carson for about a minute. I like the guy, but God, he's just like somebody that you want to put on like a audio book for late at night to go to sleep.
It's going to be one of the most consequential debates ever, because people will finally get a chance to hear from Kamala Harris what she believes. And all this business about flip-flopping, you have to wonder if she has really flip-flopped, because she said that her values have not changed. So what kind of values are we talking about? You know, values that, as the DA in San Francisco led to a policy where people can go into stores and take $900 worth of stuff with little or no consequences, or values that lead to not deporting drug dealers.
Jason Chaffetz is trying to stay awake right now, Ben. Can we get a little bit more enthusiasm out of you? Maybe a little bit. It's for entertainment. It is the news. Look, it's entertainment. Can you imagine if I did my podcast like that? You all be sleeping. That's why we go like this, right? We're doing the punches, the kicks. Look, Kamala Harris is out here on the campaign trail just lying to the American people. And I'll tell you what, if she continues to do this, people are not going to vote for her, guys. People are going to vote for Donald Trump. She needs to get out front and talk about the issues that the American people want. I almost sound like Dr. Phil. We'll be right back. Look, you got to get out there and vote for people. I can't do it. Look, I like Ben Carson, super smart guy, but man, it's going to put me to sleep and it's too early in the morning. You also got Ted Cruz coming out of the woodworks here, and he believes free speech is a privilege that she can revoke, except it's not him saying that. It's Kamala Harris. It's Kamala Harris. So he's on his show, The Verdict. If you haven't seen or listened to his podcast, I highly recommend you check it out. It's actually pretty good. You get a lot of gems in there. And it says Kamala has a long history of calling for censorship, calling for silencing anyone who disagrees with her, of wanting to use government power to silence her critics. If Kamala Harris becomes president, I predict now that she will try to muzzle X, also known as Twitter, or Twitter, also known as X. She will try to ban X. She wants to follow Brazil's path and ban X. She wants to use government power to go after big tech and force them to use or to be her censors. Now, the Democrats will be like, they always want the receipts, right? Oh, what's your proof? What's your proof? As if they hadn't been living with us for the rest of these last 4 years. Again, I'm not saying that I expect people to remember everything, because there's so many terrible things the Biden-Harris administration have done. But it's just astonishing. I mean, literally every time we say something, where's the receipts, man? Show us the proof. Where's the receipts? But yet, when they sit there and say any of their garbage, they don't want to engage in a conversation. They don't want to engage in actually talking about the outgrowths of the problem of the very policy that they're trying to propose, right? Like the Green New Deal. Hey, let's talk about that. Oh, fuck you, man. You don't believe in the economy? You don't believe in making clean air, you bigot? And they like spit on you, right? These people don't want to talk about it, but yeah, when we bring something up, all of a sudden we got to back every inch of it up. We got to sit there and bring the receipts. So on this, hey, how about just one case in point? Big tech coming out and being told by the FBI to sit there and silence dissenting viewpoints that are classified and deemed as misinformation, disinformation. That's just one. And we saw that in 2020, by the way, with Twitter, right? That's why there was this whole thing called the Twitter files that came out, Democrats, which your party sat there and pushed and pushed and pushed for them to do that. It's weird because not many Democrats were actually silenced, right? But we had conservatives, Republicans. Well, who were they? Who were the Republicans and conservatives? Charlie Kirk. You had the editor-in-chief of the Federalist get banned. You had Jordan B. Peterson get banned. Who else? You had Steven Crowder get suspended multiple times. Who else? Oh, gee, you had the Babylon Bee leader, the guy that ran the show. I think it was the editor, get banned. I mean, those are just naming a few off the top of my head from like 4 years ago. Just imagine how long that list would be if I actually took the time to research every single individual and bring that one back up. But it's astonishing here that there's no recollection. No, oh, here's another one. How about the Ministry of Truth that the Democrat Party wanted to put in place that was supposed to be head by DHS Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas, that was going to sit there and tell the intelligence community as well as big tech on who to sit there and silence and who to sit there and elevate and promote in terms of what narrative they want to promulgate and what narrative they wanted to remove, basically silencing conservative Republicans once again. The last time we had a presidential candidate with this was John Adams, our second president, who had enforced the Alien and Seduction Acts and used them to prosecute his political opponents. So that's what they're going to do. They're going to go after your free speech. It's not just that, folks. Wait till we get to it. They're also going to go after your guns. Okay? Not only do we know that from Joe Biden's administration, he's come out and said it, I want to sit there and get rid of assault weapons. And you kind of go like, well, what's an assault weapon? The Democrats are getting bold because they used to sit there and kind of obfuscate the actual meaning of what they meant, meaning they tried to sit there and not make it seem as bad that they want to remove your guns. So that they're like assault weapons or guns are bad, things like that. But if you can actually find little clips as well as news articles, like quotes of Joe Biden, what he actually means by assault weapons. And he's referring to, according to him, and we actually displayed the videos before, he's talking about semi-automatic weapons. That's every firearm in the United States, by the way. It's basically every firearm out there. You can't get autos. You have to have a certain license to carry an automatic firearm, which you can do, but it's really heavily regulated. But vast majority of American citizens can't get their hands on fully automatic weapons. You can get your hands on semi-automatic weapons, but they want to remove those as well. Also go after your magazines and the capacity of those, all those things like that, which again is infringing on our rights to carry and utilize a firearm, but they don't want to look at that. They kind of, again, they turn a blind eye to that word infringe. You know what I mean? Like, oh, that's not in there. Oh, that's icky. Let's ignore that. They want to ignore lots of things. One thing the media wants to ignore is, you know how Donald Trump went after Rosie O'Donnell and Megyn Kelly kind of was trying to rip him during that debate? And he goes, only Rosie. Because she said, oh, well, you were calling women fat and blah, 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 all these things. And it was a huge moment for Donald Trump. He goes, only Rosie O'Donnell, right? Which was funny. Well, it's weird because when you say anything about a woman, the Democrats sit there and call you like a sexist and all these things. But yet when the Democrats go after RFK Jr.'s wife for his husband or her husband, support, I don't know if it's a he or she anymore, you don't know, going and endorsing Donald Trump, they start going after her. But remember, you're supposed to believe all women, all these things about women. You can't question them. But when it goes against the Democrats' narrative, then all of a sudden you can go against them and start hating on them, all those other things. So liberal comedian Bill Maher slammed the political left this week for attacking Cheryl Hines, the wife of RFK Jr., over her husband's decision to endorse Republican presidential nominee Donald Trump. So here's a clip, a little bit of what that looked like.
Bobby Kennedy, scion of the most storied dynasty in Democratic Party history, dropped out of the presidential race and threw his support not to the Democrat, but to Trump. And everyone all at once said the same thing. Bobby Kennedy did something weird? A Kennedy in league with a Republican? Why, that's like ordering white wine with Bear. Now look, I like Bobby and always will. And there are things he has been right about that no one else would touch. But yes, I also think he's weird. I couldn't support him for president. His wife is Cheryl Hines. who Larry David was quoted as describing as the best person I've ever met, the one person in Hollywood who doesn't have a single enemy. Well, now she does. Because she didn't throw her husband.
I didn't think it was that funny. I mean, that laugh, you know how they have the applause and then the laugh, I don't know. I didn't think it was that hilarious.
Under the bus when her husband made a decision about something which she's made plain she disagrees with, but that didn't satisfy the obnoxious posers on the aforementioned far left. Thousands tweet screamed at Cheryl things like, "How do you live with yourself? Do better. I can't even enjoy the episodes of Curb Your Enthusiasm with you in them anymore. It's no wonder Larry divorced you." Yeah, that's a character on TV, but okay.
Now, the one thing I find interesting here, and this is where I'm starting to kind of disagree with a lot of conservatives and I think Republicans out there, is we used to kind of divide the Democrats and then the progressive left, who Bill Maher's calling the far left. That's the progressives, right? You have like Antifa, Black Lives Matter. They want to sit there. Again, they're not for free speech. They're not for your Second Amendment rights. They're actually pushing fascism, which is funny because Antifa that acts as anti-fascist are actually fascist. If you trace out the things they say and the things that they do can be traced back directly to fascism, which we talk about in my book. But at what point here, when you have a person that supports Marxism and wants to implement forms of communism in the country, meaning Kamala Harris, and you have people that vote for her, at what point is there differentiation? It's crazy because if you have people that are supporting Donald Trump like RFK, Donald Trump and MAGA, is more towards centrist ideology, if anything. As I've always mentioned, if you were to listen to RFK or if you were to listen to like old school Democrats like Tulsi Gabbard, it's really more like a Clinton era or JFK type era, a Democrat, more centrist, nothing really crazy. There wasn't much that used to kind of be the difference between Republicans and Democrats in a holistic viewpoint. They had their differences, but now it's like the Democrat Party is going further left. Folks, they're having freaking RVs showing up killing babies at the DNC. I mean, how far? It's like way out here. They're burning down our cities, right? They're looting everywhere. Democrats are for crime. They're for abolishing the police department. They're for destroying our military. Well, where's the receipts? Look at San Francisco. Look at every Democrat-ran area. Look at the crime. Look at how they're lowering the punishment on crime in Democrat-ran areas. Well, where's your receipts on the military trying to denigrate it? Well, I don't know. Look at all the woke stuff that's been pushed in the military. Look at the fact that they can't actually get people to sign up for the military right now, that we're actually having to decommission certain Navy vessels because we can't actually populate them. Furthermore, how about the fact that Barack Obama started this whole trend within the Democrat Party of diminishing our military by removing military installations all around the United States? I don't know. Just name a couple off top. It's amazing how we have to go back all the time, right? Like this, all that stuff's not part of the show, but they expect you as you're ad-libbing, right? Because I don't have a teleprompter. I don't have a script, right? There's no script here on my screen. There's nothing like that. But they expect you to pull all of this. Anything you say, you have to back up 100%, even though you're ad-libbing a show. And it's frustrating as hell because these Democrats can't do it. And I'm calling them Democrats because you saw people like Dan come in, right? That JRE Reviews, who we haven't seen in a while. Supposedly he's a Republican. I don't know. Maybe he got blue-pilled again. But they don't want to talk about any of this. In the same way, they don't want to talk about the fact that, oopsie, Joe Biden said that the Inflation Reduction Act wasn't actually supposed to be called that or shouldn't be because it didn't actually reduce inflation at all. So he was speaking in Wisconsin, and he had a little bit of a slippy slip here where he bragged about his spending for his climate change agenda while inadvertently admitting that his terrible Inflation Reduction Act was not really about reducing inflation. Oh, is that right, Joey? Okay, well, here he is trying to stay alive in the sun here. And, well, speaks for itself.
My investments, through my investments, the most significant climate change law ever. And by the way, it is a $369 billion bill. It's called the, we should have named it what it was. But at any rate, my investment.
Jeez Louise. Yeah, we were talking about that it wasn't going to actually reduce any inflation. But you got to make sure, because the economy ain't doing so hot, folks. You have to make a lot more under Joe Biden than you do under Donald Trump to break even. And that's why we want to talk about today's sponsor, and that is Birch Gold. Did you know there is nearly $1 trillion of infrastructure and pandemic funds yet to be spent, folks? Makes you wonder what they're doing with all that money. Maybe it's going to Iran. Pushing hard to spend in their last few months, and it's going a lot to illegal immigrants as well. If the president is able to push these funds out, we could see another prolonged inflation surge, and maybe that's the last bit of bad news they want to put if Donald Trump gets put in office. Just like during COVID, I am sure you remember that terrible effect that they put in place where high prices had it on Americans hard. But there's hope. A surge in prices can be beaten. A gold IRA from Birch Gold Group is the ultimate inflation hedge from your savings in uncertain times. For over 20 years, folks, Birch Gold has helped tens of thousands of Americans protect their retirement savings by converting an IRA or 401k into an IRA in gold. Learn more about this by going to birchgold.com/rumble. Again, that's birchgold.com/rumble, and get a free non-obligation info kit on diversifying your retirement into a gold IRA. Birch Gold has earned a A+ rating, folks, with the Better Business Bureau, and thousands of happy customers. Protect your IRA or 401k. Again, go to birchgold.com/rumble and get your free info kit, folks. It's not going to cost you a dime. Get that free info kit and make sure your retirement is taken care of and that you have a diversified portfolio, because Lord knows if Kamala's back in office, you're going to need a diversified portfolio, because, holy Lord, it's going to be bad. Well, speaking of somebody that actually wants to sit there and take care of American people, you got Donald Trump, and I love this, that he's vowing to cut corporate tax rates for companies that make products in the U.S. Love this, because already, right, it's going to sit, he has to do this in a way, right? The reason why I bring that up is because people want higher wages in America compared to the rest of the globe, right? That's why obviously people sit there and they, offshore their production to China, Mexico, Vietnam, these countries where it's just cheaper to make products. Whereas here, if you're already struggling in your economy, you don't want to go to Walmart and pay $10 for something that was made in the United States for the very same product as made in China, maybe slightly, more shitty, but a fraction of the price. So to do this, you kind of can offset that, where if you make your products in America that's going to be more expensive to make, at least you get a little bit of a tax break to offset that, where the price wouldn't probably be as much in terms of labor being passed on the consumer than say if something was made somewhere else without this tax cut. So I like this, where former President Donald Trump on Thursday promised that if he wins the election, his administration would cut the corporate tax rate for companies that make their products in America. Now, it says this here, kind of the numbers. You would see a corporate tax decrease from 21 to 15%. That is massive. People are like, oh, well, 6% is not that much. No, 6% tax cut is actually really big. And I like that he's doing that, because again, you sit there and you're supporting American workers, right? And you're giving them a little bit of a tax relief, and that tax relief can ultimately be money spent, elsewhere, where that's R&D tax credits, or that money's going towards, investing more in your company, whatever it means. Maybe even investing more in your employees, paying them a little bit more here.
To further support the revival of American manufacturing, my plan calls for expanded R&D tax credits, 100% bonus depreciation, expensing for new manufacturing investments, and a reduction in the corporate tax rate from 21% to 15% solely for
That's pretty massive too. Don't quote me on this one. I don't know for sure. I want to say back when he was running in 2016, I want to say the corporate tax rate was 28, right? And he brought it down to 25 or 21 or something like that. I remember that being a big deal. He did bring down the corporate tax rate, but now he wants to bring it to 15. Damn, that's good for corporations.
Companies that make their product in America. You have to make your product in America. If you outsource, offshore, or replace American workers, you're not eligible for any of these benefits. In fact, you will pay a very substantial tariff that comes in from another country, that's made in another country and comes in. There'll be a big tariff on that product.
Now, that's the one thing about tariffs. Tariffs are really just a tax on the American people. So I understand his push and his argument, but there are some cases where a tariff is not a good thing for the American people. So just be aware of when Trump talks about that. I would say do a little bit more research on the effects of the tariffs that he's wanting to implement and how that's going to affect you personally and your family. Not everything Trump does or says is a good thing. I know you all know that. Doesn't mean in holistic view, he's still a good president and was a good president. But there's some things that, look, he just didn't do that well, unfortunately. And one of those things is, I'm a fiscal conservative, registered Republican. You all know that. I didn't like his spending. So it's one of the things I didn't like about Donald Trump. But in a holistic viewpoint, I do like the man. Now, somebody I don't like is, Kamala Harris. And she wanted to give drug dealers 3 arrests before charging them. Cops shut her down. Now, the problem with this is you're incentivizing bad behavior because the people that you're incentivizing, meaning the criminals, are going to sit there and know, hey, I could do multiple deals. I could commit multiple crimes and get arrested and be let go before anything really happens to me. So you have the district attorney of San Francisco, former Kamala Harris, proposed a program for drug dealers that would allow criminals to only be charged for selling narcotics on their 3rd arrest. Oh, great. This is the same people in California that wanted to give homeless people, or should I say, are giving homeless people alcohol so that when they have their withdrawals, they don't go into the hospital. No, really, we did this article. I know it sounds ludicrous when it comes out of my mouth, but they want to sit there and give homeless people alcohol so they don't have withdrawals, and so they're not burdening the medical system in California. On top of that, they're doing the exact same things with drugs. So these people are having withdrawals or that they're not ODing in unsafe areas. And so they actually give them areas and free syringes to do drugs in broad daylight. We also covered that here on the show. I know it sounds ludicrous. I know it sounds so insane that it probably sounds fake to some of you, but it's real. This proposal asked us not to arrest, but instead detain and release observed narcotic sales suspects pursuant of this penal code. When the same suspect is arrested for the 3rd time, for these narcotic sales, your office would then charge all 3 counts. Oh, okay. So another slap on the wrist multiple times, kind of like the smash and grabs we see with Prop 47, where you could sit there and steal anything under $950. It's just a misdemeanor. Nothing really even happens to you. And when you have that type of misdemeanor in place, cops don't even show up. That's why people don't run out with bags of stuff anymore. They just walk out of the store. Nothing ever happens to them. And you could really thank Kamala Harris and Gavin Newsom for all this. And if they're going to do that on a local level, state level, imagine what she's going to do on a federal level. Now, if you recall, speaking of Kamala Harris and her terrible job of being vice president along with Joe Biden, whatever the hell he was, because we're still trying to figure out who's running the country. Well, they have a disastrous border. And we said early on, go back about 3 years ago, I said, hey, their agenda here is to allow as many people to flow across the border as much as possible. So not only can they sit there and vote, but also so that they could sit there, meaning they, the Democrats, and use amnesty, mass amnesty, as a mechanism, as a bargaining chip to get ultimately a border wall built for that mass amnesty. Now, I still think that's going to happen. Donald Trump said he's going to sit there and deport 20 million people. I'm not so sure if that's actually going to take place in the amount that he says so. Okay, there's a lot of money, a lot of moving puzzle pieces here. Well, if you recall, I see you all in the chat. I see you, folks. I see you, Patriots. Always a pleasure being with you. If you recall, they're not voting. That's what we're being told by Democrats. They're not voting. It's weird. Really weird here because I have an article that talks about them voting. Really weird because Texas, just like 2 weeks ago, removed like thousands of illegal immigrants off their voter registration rolls. Weird. But they're not voting. But no, we're told they're not voting. Oh, wait, but they are voting. But they are. Illegal immigrant charged with voting. Well, that's weird. What the fuck? How'd that get in there? How did this get here? What do you mean? I was told they weren't. I was told by the legacy media, I was told that they were voting. It's ludicrous, right? Sir, no, they're not. Sir, no, they're not, right? Donald Trump brings it up. That's not true, right? Interrupting him. We've all seen the interviews. We've all seen the interviews. Well, how did he do this? Oh, impersonating an American citizen. Gotcha. Okay, so the Department of Justice charged an illegal immigrant from Guatemala for illegally voting in American elections. Huh. Weird. The Justice Department brought the charges against this individual, national illegally residing in the Alabama area. Oh, we have some family here, some patriots from the Alabama area. illegally voted in both. Oh, not just one election, but two. Hold on, time out. I was told both these elections were the fairest and freest elections that's ever existed. You're not going to find a single problem with it. No, it wasn't stolen. But yeah, that's what. Okay, look. This is just one person. Can you imagine how many else there are? Oh, but it's not happening, you guys. No, I created this whole article. I pulled it out of my you-know-what. I actually stayed up late last night. I made it look like it was coming from the Daily Wire. You know, I actually put a fake person there, Spencer Lundquist or Lindquist. Yeah, all this is fake. It's all cheap fakes, deep fakes. Look at this. She subsequently used her United States passport to travel to and from her native country. Look at using the same false identity. Now, they don't even have to sit there and take somebody's identity anymore, because now they're just getting ID cards in the state of California, Arizona, Texas, other places. And then what they're doing with that ID is they're just going to register to vote, because as we all saw on the registration form, you don't actually have to specify and prove that you're a U.S. citizen. You just have to check the box. Or you don't have to check any boxes. It's just kind of like, if you feel like it. Not exaggerating. Again, we went through this all. That's why you want to make sure you tune in every single morning. We go through all this stuff already. So the charge from the DOJ comes as Republicans in the House and Senate are attempting to pass the SAVE Act, which we need. Now, to be fair, it's already illegal for illegals to vote, but this is more pushing the executive branch to carry out the laws. Isn't that sad that you have to actually put in more laws to get the executive branch to actually carry out the very laws that they're supposed to execute off in the first place? They don't want to do it. They don't want to do it. That's because you have Democrats in office. They don't want to do any of their damn job. And that's why we're in this bleep storm that we're in. Now, you saw and heard from Ted Cruz earlier about Kamala Harris wanting to remove free speech. Here's Ted Cruz again warning about illegal immigration means democracy will, or Democrats rather, will win every election forever. And this is something that we've talked about here on the show. This is like, if I didn't put Ted Cruz's name right there and I said, you guys, you're never going to see a Republican president in your lifetime again, it's the same exact thing, except I just phrased it differently. It's the same exact thing. So he stated this, and look at this. Senator from Texas argued that Democrats want to increase the number of illegal immigrants present in the country by 20 million to be 30 to 40 million people. Folks, just under Joe Biden's tenure as president, in 3 years, he's had more people come across the border than the entire state of New Jersey. And that's a coastal state. There's more people than half the population of our states, because they're all spread out, right, to California, right? California has more people than the entire country of Canada, or at least we used to. It's like 36, 37 million people or something like that, just in California alone. So those middle states don't have as many people as New York City or Seattle, Washington, or California. And so if you break out the numbers, there's more people here than half the population of our states. Isn't that wild? Isn't that wild? But there's no invasion. I was listening to the radio yesterday, and funny enough, is AM 640, which tends to be conservative. And this guy's like, yeah, I don't think it's right to use the term invasion. Why? When somebody comes into your house and breaks in, you call that a home and what? A home invasion. You don't like the word because you have people coming here, and you don't want to be rude, because that's how the nature of our country tends to be. We don't like to be rude to people. But if it's a home invasion when you have one guy coming in, but yet you have 20 to 25 million people coming into your home, meaning your country illegally, it's called an invasion. I know you don't like it, but when they're pouring across the country, raping our women and children in some cases, not just smuggling them here and raping and killing them, but also while they're here illegally, whether that's through DUIs or actually raping and killing them, yeah, that's an invasion. Some of them are bringing guns across the border. Some of them are violent gang members. Some of them are MS-13 that wants to cut off your head and use your teeth as a necklace and your head as a soup bowl. Like, all this is taking place. Again, Democrats, where are the 300,000 children? I've heard rumors it's 350,000 now, you guys. Just like 2 weeks ago, it's 250,000. I'm hearing the numbers bumped up to 350,000 children that Kamala Harris lost. You think that's going to be brought up in the debate? You think they're going to bring up, hey, Kamala, where's the 350,000 children you lost? It's amazing. Don't want to look at it, though. No, we can't look at that. Hey, can you explain this individual running over a family of 5, drunk DUI, illegal alien that's been tossed from the country 3 times, all under your administration was let back in? Can you explain that one? Won't be brought up. Hey, Trump, you sick bigot, racist, you homophobe. Explain January 6th, you asshole. When he's like, oh, go out test because the people had permits to be out there. Hey, Kamala, why don't you explain the fentanyl that's killing 250,000 Americans under your tenure? Hey, Donald Trump, explain the classified documents, you bigot. It's amazing how all that works out, right? It's amazing how they sit there and then people come out, oh, it was a pretty good interview. Yeah, it was a pretty good debate. Yeah, the guy was pretty good moderator, kind of in between. No, he wasn't. I'm still bothered by some Republicans and conservatives going, oh, yeah, Dana Bash did a pretty good job. No, she didn't. No, she didn't. Just in her interview, she sucks. She sucks. She does. She does. I said it right after. I'm just saying. I said it right after. So there you have it. They're going to allow these people to come in, right? Kamala Harris wants more illegal aliens to invade the country because she views them as single alien Americans, who have a future to be part of the Democrat Party. And that's probably one of the questions they ask before they come in, as they pause them at the border real quick. Here's your court date 10 years in the future. Joe Biden won't even be alive around at that moment in time. Who you voting for? Who you voting for? I see that shirt. I see that Joey shirt. Yep. Don't worry. What does it say on the back? Oh, it says Kamala Harris. Good for you. We have bus trips. She's going to be in Chicago next week. Do you want a Greyhound bus to Chicago? Oh, you want to go to New York? Well, she'll be there in 2 weeks after. Yeah. You okay? So New York, yeah, we'll get you a nice signed shirt. We'll get you a nice signed shirt. Don't worry about that. If you go to New York, you'll get some money. Just let you know, Chicago, you get like $86,000 in services. You sure New York? Okay, all right. It's $86,000. So there's that one. It's actually 84. It's probably gone up because of inflation. Legal immigrant who stole U.S. identity to vote in multiple elections obtained American passport. That's one thing we just covered as well. Again, I'm floored that it happened in 2 elections, and we were told the freest and fairest elections out there, you guys, because we're idiots. Yeah, oh yeah. According to these politicians and Democrats, we're idiots. It never happened. Cheap fakes, deep fakes, all fake. Yep. Now, if you recall, Denver, that's a sanctuary city. Good morning, Jennifer. Denver, a sanctuary city, is now considering a proposal to house migrants in an elementary school. Now, this has also happened. I forget if it was Chicago. I think it was Chicago or New York. It was another sanctuary city, right? The shelter state. And what they did was they shut down the school to put in illegal aliens into a gymnasium. And the kids had to go to remote learning. And the Democrats, the parents, got all upset. I say Democrats because they voted in this stuff. And I'm going to continue to say Democrats because they're not progressives. They're Democrats that were bragging how they're right to shelter city and state, but when it actually starts impacting them, all of a sudden they get their panties in a bunch. Keep the school shut down. Keep the school. You voted for it. Why are you complaining all of a sudden? Because now you're affected, which we said was going to happen. It's astonishing. So, we have this taking place here in Denver, Colorado, maybe turned into a migrant shelter. So at least the kids aren't in there, right, getting removed from their school. Thank you, Jennifer. I am feeling a little bit better. I'm about 95% now. 56 watches, smash the like button. Yeah, but we also have more people over at Rumble too. Don't forget that, and X. We got people from everywhere, so it's not just 56. It's a little bit more. Come on, Lulu. We're doing a little bit better than that. I'm teasing. But a spokesperson said that they own the building, the Denver Public Schools, but yet there's no determination if it's been made yet or not. So if they're going to actually make it a shelter. But if you recall, we were also told, and it was interesting because on TikTok, people were saying this wasn't happening. Like, legitimately, it wasn't happening. They were saying, you remember these gang members here, these illegal immigrants in Aurora, Colorado, taking over these apartment buildings? We were told this wasn't happening on like multiple fronts. And then a bunch of conservatives on X and Twitter came out and were saying, oh, well, we have actual boots on the ground, meaning the police officers themselves saying that this is actually taking place. So they want to house these migrants, more taxpayers' dollars at work there. And hey, you know what? At least if it's being paid for by the state, it's not coming out of my budget. And that's one thing I could say is so far, Joe Biden hasn't been shelling out billions of dollars to states in refunds for the terrible implementation of securing the border, which he hasn't done. At least he's not giving them billions and billions of dollars, even though we're spending billions and billions of dollars. It'll be about $1 trillion by the time that guy's out of office. Yeah, you heard that correct. I didn't say $1 billion, $1 trillion. Because we can't afford a border wall, you guys, but we can afford giving Ukraine $60 billion. Oh, we can absolutely do that. What do you mean? Yeah, we'll just cut them a check tomorrow. I mean, legitimately, y'all remember this? That Donald Trump, I remember this. He was fighting with Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi in the Oval Office about getting a border wall built. And they were complaining that it could have cost, he's like, just give me $3 billion, Nancy. Nancy, your dentures cost $3 billion. Just give me $3 billion. And no, we can't afford it, Donald. Sorry, we can't afford it. But yeah, all of a sudden we can afford $1 trillion in legal. It's astonishing. It is astonishing that walls don't work. How the F do you know? There's a wall around the White House. If it didn't work, why have it there in the first place? So you're saying we sat there and spent a bunch of money on a wall to safeguard the White House when it doesn't work in the first place? So you're gonna now we're just wasting money? Amazing. Yeah, we couldn't afford it, you guys. $3 billion. We couldn't afford it. But yeah, somehow we can afford $1 trillion over the span of 4 years. Remember I always say this doesn't work? Remember me? Yeah, it's not working. Now, what's interesting as well is we got the brigade coming out. I got a lot of clips here coming up, really rapid fire clips of just you have spokespersons, spokespeople for Kamala Harris. You'll have Democrats like Bernie Sanders coming out of the woodworks here and really kind of exposing the Democrat Party for all of us. So here's this first one. Top Harris intern, his name's Folks, is desperately attempting to lower debate expectations for his candidate. The reason why he needs to do that is in the attempt that she actually does okay, well, she's going to be applauded for her amazing performance because the bar was so low.
Look, all jokes aside, we are taking this extremely seriously. Donald Trump is a skilled debater. He has been in the most presidential debates of any, be the vice president's first presidential debate as the nominee. And so, we know that Donald Trump is preparing as he has been for weeks. And so he's going to come ready. Well, look,
I don't know if Donald Trump's been necessarily preparing for weeks per se. I would say him doing his speech engagements can be classified as that, his interviews and his podcasts. But Kamala Harris could be preparing that way too, but she doesn't want to sit there and take an interview. She took an under 18-minute interview. We were told it was 41, but they had to cut it because she couldn't sit there and actually get words out of her mouth, and that it was delayed because she would take about 20-25 seconds to answer a question. Which is remarkable because even Jean-Pierre doesn't take that long to answer a question. To be fair, Jean-Pierre doesn't answer anybody's questions, but at least she gives us something. You also have Bernie Sanders here kind of being questioned on the idea by Kristen Welker of, well, her policies are basically just yours. Like, she's basically running Bernie Sanders' campaign. Now, remember, the Democrats performed basically a coup on this guy, too. I use the word coup loosely because he wasn't really in the position to be anything. But remember how he was actually going to almost be president, or at least the Democrat nominee, and they sat there and pushed him out and replaced him with Joe Biden? You all remember that? And now Joe Biden's been replaced and pushed out, and now it's Kamala Harris. It's amazing. They don't care about their politics. They don't care about anybody. They'll sit there and use y'all, just like the media uses, Democrats.
President Kamala Harris as a progressive. She has previously supported Medicare for all. Now she does not. She's previously supported a ban on fracking. Now she does not. These, Senator, are ideas that you have campaigned on. Do you think that she is abandoning her progressive ideals?
No, I don't think she's abandoning her ideals. I think she's trying to be pragmatic and doing what she thinks is right in order to win the election. My own view is slightly different. I think that in America today there are...
Did you hear that part?
Her ideals. I think she's trying to be pragmatic and doing what she thinks is right in order to win the election.
Not doing what's right for the American people and for this country, but just saying and doing things so that she can win this election. That's a terrible thing, by the way. Donald Trump's like, I want to make America great again, bring manufacturing back, help the American people. And he's out here going, yeah, she's just going to say and do whatever she can to get elected and then screw over everybody when she's in office. She's basically lying to all of you is what he's doing here and what he's saying. It's crazy. He's basically saying she's lying to all of you and acting fake and being fake to sit there and push some sort of agenda later on.
My own view is slightly different. I think that in America today, there are a lot of people, rural people, working class people, who no longer believe that the United States Congress and government represents their interests, too dominated by big money interests. So I think that
the same big money interests that predominantly goes towards the Democrat Party. We all looked at the graph that were contributing to the Democrats. Google, right? The alphabet soup, all the Apple. It's funny. The billionaires, the Waltons, the Walmarts, the Apples, the billionaires. But yeah, why are they all going towards your party then, dude? Like, why? This guy pisses me off, man. Oh, they're going after remember how he used to go after the millionaires? And then when he became a millionaire, then it was the billionaires. The guy that has 3 homes and pushing all these socialist agendas. It's remarkable. It's remarkable. The other thing that's remarkable here is the idea that Kamala Harris wants to confiscate your guns. That one's remarkable, too.
She also be, in your opinion, supporting a mandatory gun buyback program?
Listen, we're not going to be able to get where we need to go without action in Congress. We've got to pass some laws to deal with this. Now, I was heartened by the fact that 2 years ago, we finally did a gun safety.
Because remember, the criminals care about laws, you guys. The criminals care about the laws that are on the books. Oh, boy, do they. Yep, they're going to follow it to a T. What an idiot.
Law, the Safer Communities Act. And it was the first gun safety law we passed in 30 years. 30 years. And it was modest, but it did save lives. But clearly, in the wake of what happened just the other day in Winder, Georgia, it's not enough. And the least we can do is move forward on the bipartisan spaces where ordinary people agree. Clearly, there's a disconnect between what the people, the American people, want and what they're able to get out of their government. Again, 87% of Americans believe in background checks. And yet I hear politicians say that it's not guns who kill people, it's people who kill people.
There already are background checks. What the? If you get these people on what the hell are they talking about? I own firearms. Guess what? When I go there, not only do I have to take a test, which is bullshit, by the way, because I have a right to own that firearm, but I have to sit there and do a background check when I get the firearm. So what are they talking about here?
And yet we don't even want to know who those people are. We won't even support.
Senator, just yes or no, though. Should she support the mandatory buyback program? Just a yes or no.
Listen, look, as a pastor, I've done buyback programs. You can pick this issue or that issue. But I think that, again, there's not one single thing that.
Yeah, we know what they want to do, you guys. We know what they want to do. The reason why we know is because Joe Biden said so. Kamala Harris said so. It's not like we're just sitting here. We know what they want to do. They've already come out in the open. The sad thing is you got to kind of find and filter through the internet to find those. Again, we want to remove your semi-automatic firearms, or they also, again, they would rephrase that as not automatic weapons, assault weapons. Again, they don't ever want to sit there and talk about what an assault weapon is. In their eyes, you guys, a handgun, a pistol is an assault weapon. It's a weapon of war. So is a knife. So is a freaking helmet. So is a belt. Like your boot. Like, you know what I mean? It's a weapon. Anything that get carried in the war is a weapon of war. If your firearm jams and all you have left is the knife on your belt buckle, then you're going to use that as a weapon of war. Should we ban those as well? Shit, if you're sitting there and all you have next to you is a fucking spoon, and forgive my French, you're going to use that as a weapon of war. You're going to sit there and do anything you can to save your life so you can go home and see your family. They don't want to look at it that way. In the same way that if somebody's invading your home or your government goes usurpacious on its people, which has happened all throughout human history, by the way, you need to sit there and protect yourself and your family and sit there and protect the rights that have been given. The second you remove that Second Amendment right, you have no First Amendment right and you have no rights whatsoever, and the country is done for.
The vice president understands that the American people are looking for a new way forward. That's why she's begun to lay out the planks of where she wants to take this country. We did so in Raleigh with the lowering cost agenda. We did so in New Hampshire with their plan to boost and grow small businesses across this country. And that's
to boost and grow small businesses, but yet you want to increase the corporate tax and you want to implement a 0 to 25% unrealized gain tax. That's really going to help. And by the way, you're going to remove the Trump's tax cuts and you're going to sit there and try to offset it, which isn't going to happen on this. If you have a child, you get like a $6,000 credit. And that if you're a first-time home buyer, you get $25,000 or something. Oh, sick. You get a $25,000 credit on $1 million plus home. Oh, that's sweet. Or $400,000, whatever it's going to be in the locality or state of which you're looking at. It's too much money at the end of the day in terms of how much houses are, and you're going to offer somebody $25,000. Yeah, which is a credit, which is I don't know, paid for by who? You and I.
That's what the contrast will be on the debate stage on Tuesday night.
That ain't much of a contrast, man. I'm telling you, businesses did great under Donald Trump. Businesses were flourishing under Donald Trump. The middle class was flourishing under Donald Trump. Why? Because they got 3% back on average by Donald Trump's tax cuts and his revisions of how you perform your taxes. That's all going away. Furthermore, if you sit there and mispronounce Kamala Harris's name, you're a racist.
Campaign against Kamala Harris has begun. You'll notice they purposefully pronounce her name wrong. Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris.
Kamala Harris.
Kamala Harris. People like Kamala Harris. But as Kamala said, Kamala Harris. Kamala and I. Kamala Harris.
Kamala Harris.
Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris.
Kamala Harris.
Kamala Harris.
Kamala Harris.
Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris.
Kamala Harris.
Kamala Harris is Kamala.
Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris.
Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris.
Kamala Harris was a very good prosecutor.
Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris.
Kamala Harris.
Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris.
Kamala Harris.
I know her.
Kamala was first Biden and Kamala. Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris.
Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris.
Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris.
And to the Kamala point, they purposefully pronounce her name wrong. They say Kamala. They do it all the time. It is on purpose. Kamala Harris.
Kamala Harris.
Kamala Harris.
Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris.
Kamala Harris.
Kamala Harris was talking about this.
Kamala Harris.
Kamala.
A bunch of hypocrites. What a bunch of hypocrites. You're racist. Now, somebody coming out. We got Lewandowski here. Well, just spitting truth here on Fox News.
The mainstream media is going to continue to hype up the Kamala Harris, Tim Walz campaign. They want to tell everyone how she's a savior. Is she complicit, or was she just naive to what was going on during Joe Biden's 3.5 years of mental decline? There's been no questions about it. She hasn't answered any of those questions. It's time to hold her accountable for it. I feel very good about where we are. And historically speaking, from a strictly empirical data point, we are in the best position that Donald Trump has ever been in from the public polls to be successful come November.
Again, are they going to ask this tomorrow? We will be live tomorrow, folks, for the debate. We'll be live for our normal programming, 6 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. And we'll also be live probably about 45 minutes, maybe an hour before the debate itself. No questions about the idea of, hey, you sat there and covered up Joe Biden's mental decline. Nobody wants to talk about that. It's astonishing here. And here's one more kind of fact being spit to the news media here.
What is Kamala Harris for? From our estimation, we have done, since Kamala Harris has been the de facto nominee, 34 sit-down interviews or press conferences where Donald Trump and J.D. Vance have answered questions. You know, Kamala Harris and Tim Walz have done exactly one. She spoke for just under 17 minutes. There was really no pushback during that interview. Tim Walz's answer of why he lied about carrying a gun into a war zone was because he has bad grammar. And the only thing that Kamala Harris could say was that the Biden administration didn't ban fracking, even though she said she would do it on day one. The difference is, as the vice president, she didn't have the ability to do it. I believe we should listen to what she says. She wants to ban fracking. That will be devastating to the people of Pennsylvania.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Spot on. Spot on. She can't hide from her agenda, folks. She can't hide on the fact she wants to sit there and do a gun confiscation, remove your firearms, increase your taxes, and ultimately limit freedom of pushing for freedom of speech is Rumble, folks. This is a sponsorship that comes from Rumble, one of the incredibly important things for the survival of the company. And that's Rumble Premium, folks. When it first started in 2013, they built a platform for small creators such as myself, and they didn't censor or have biases. They were fair and treated everybody well and equally. No one thought platforms would censor political conversation or censor opinions on COVID, but they did. Facebook admitted to it, by the way. They fell to the pressure from the Biden-Harris administration. Rumble did not. They held the line. They are attacked daily for giving us a voice to talk to you. They are attacked in corporate media. They are attacked by the government, like France. They are attacked from brand advertisers who refuse to work with them. Corporate media is fighting to remove speech. Rumble is fighting to keep it in place. Rumble won't survive without brand advertisers. They won't and don't get much of it. Watching our show on Rumble is the most you can and the most that they ask from you. But if you really believe in this fight, and if you have the means, one major way that you could do this is to help Rumble survive by joining Rumble Premium. Join the community that believes in the First Amendment and believes in our human right to free speech. They're offering a $10 off with a promo code STUDIO when you purchase an annual subscription, premium, rumble.com/premium, and use promo code STUDIO. Like I said, folks, if you have the means and believe in the cause, now is the time to join Rumble Premium. If you don't have the means, you're happy. They're happy, and I'm happy that you're just watching us over at Rumble, folks. Again, that's rumble.com/premium. Check that out. Make sure you support the great people over at Rumble. They're giving us a home for free speech. That's why some of you go over there and will say different things on Rumble chat. Well, with that being said, that is the show for today, folks. I appreciate you back with me. If you're curious where I really was sick. Check out Saturday's episode. I rehashed that out. I had cold chills, the sweats, cough, a headache for days, you name it. I had body aches, sleeping a lot, but I'm doing better now. I appreciate that, folks. And it's nice to be better now because the big day's tomorrow, and we'll be back here, folks. Head over to Rumble. At least follow me so you know when we're going notified. But heck, you should just have an alarm. You know we're going to be here 6 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. If I'm not here, check my community tab over at YouTube. I usually announce the night prior, like, hey, I'm just not going to be able to do it. I don't feel good or something's wrong. So with that being said, folks, can't wait to be back with you tomorrow morning as well as tomorrow evening for the debate. Take care of yourselves and to have a lovely day, Patriots. Take care.